Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to work on this front piece here. I'm going to get it set up on the lathe. You could do this a couple different ways, well, more than one way, but you could do it in the lathe or the mill. You could set this up and bore it out, but we're going to, in the milling machine, we're going to set it up on the lathe. We're going to attempt to put it on a face plate and clamp it down, and then we use an end mill to start our hole, and then we'll use a boring bar to finish it out. So it's going to be a 1/2 inch deep and then 1 inch in diameter. So once we finish that out, we will flip it over and we'll drill and tap it for our spark plug, and then this hole gets counterbored 625, 15 thousandths deep. Once we get that done, then we will start on our cylinder after that. So we need, once we get this machine down to where it'll fit in here, then we need to locate the holes in here from these 4 holes that are on our front piece here. So we'll get this set up in the lathe and start machining on it. So that went good. I was able to mount that on the face plate and get this bored out on the back. And then I was able to flip it over on the face plate and then drill and counterbore for the spark plug for the front. So I drilled the back out, starting out with a 3/4 inch end mill, plunged it 1/2 inch, and then finished it out with a boring bar. And for the depth on the tailstock, if you don't have a digital readout of some kind, what I come up with, I've got a split collar that goes onto my quill that's got a little thumb screw sticking up, and then I use a indicator with a magnetic base on top of the tailstock that I can slide and zero that out. And then I can precisely drill depths 1/2 inch, and then this front was spot faced 15 thousandths. So it's cheap, easy solution, and it's easy to take on and off so you don't lose any depth or travel of your quill on your tailstock. I'll throw up some pictures of what that looks like. So next step we're going to do is work on the cylinder. First thing we'll do is get it the final length. I think it's still a little bit long right now. We've got the OD roughed in, but we need to start with the length, and then we will start boring it out. So we're going to bore it out to 873. And it says to stop boring at 873 to allow for finish lapping, and then you'll finish lap to 875. And somebody was asking about this in another video. in the comments section on the previous video. And for piston to wall clearance, the piston finishes out at 873 and we lap this to 875. So there'll be 0.02 piston to wall clearance, and the aluminum will definitely expand faster than this cast iron cylinder will. So 0.02 is probably right. A little tighter would be okay. It depends on if you can get your bore straight. If you have a little bit taper on the inside of it, you might have to run it at 0.02 if it's a little bit tighter on one end than the other. We'll just see how straight we can get the bore. And I probably won't lap this. I think I have a hone small enough to hone this out. It's a two stone hone. We'll get to that once we get it finished. But first thing we'll do is mount it up, get it to length, get it bored out, and then we have to turn this down to 1 inch so that it fits up inside of here. And then we'll turn the back side down, and then we got to put grooves in it that will become the fins. And then once we do that, there's some more. We'll have to transfer these holes from here, drill and tap these holes in that. But we'll get it set up first and get it bored, turned to length, bored out, and then get these ends turned down and get the fins on it. Okay, a lot of machining, but we got the cylinder almost done. So we got it bored out. Still need to hone it. Got this turned down to a good snug fit inside of here. Then we got the backside turned down, and then we got the fins. So the next thing we need to do is drill and tap 4 holes in here, through here, that these screws will go through that mounts it to the front. So what I'll do is put just a little bit of super glue on there just to keep it in position, and then we can clamp it, and then we can use these holes here to locate with, and then we'll drill through our hole, and then we can pull it off and then tap it. Then once we get it mounted in the right position, we can clamp this in the vise, and then it gets a 1032 hole through the top here for an oiler. And that'll be everything except the port that goes in the side. So once we get the hole drilled in here where the fuel and air will come in from the valve body, then once that hole's drilled, then we can drill through the cylinder and put the port into it. So we'll get it super glued to here, get it set up, and get this drilled so we can tap it to get it attached. Okay, so I got the holes drilled and tapped, got the cylinder mounted, and then I got the hole drilled and tapped here for the oiler. You can see the spark plug now. So super glue worked good. Was able to locate these holes and then drill through here for the tapping size. And then while it was still super glued, I was able to put it in the vise. And then to center it up, I used this center finder. Put this in your drill chuck, put this on something round, and you can move it back and forth to get it to line up. And it'll get you pretty close. I mean, it's not as accurate as an edge finder, but for most things, and in this situation, it worked good. And to spot drill this, I put a 1/4 inch end mill in there, and my drill press has a drill depth stop on it. So I was able to take, this is supposed to be 15 thousandths deep, so I took a 15 thousandths feeler gauge and set my depth stop, and then I was able to get to spot face this 15 thousandths. So I think that's gonna wrap it up for this episode. We still need to hone this cylinder, and then once we get the hole drilled in here, we'll drill a hole through the side of it for this port, and that'll finish it up. Next time, we'll probably start by going ahead and drilling this out for the crankshaft bearings. So we'll get all this lined up good and then get it set up and drill and ream out for that. And then the next thing we'll go on to is the crank, the actual crank and the flywheel, and then the flywheel bearings. These are bronze. And then we got some drill rod to make the crank, and we'll make the other piece here. And That'll get soldered to it, and then we got our big chunk of cast iron that we turned out of the dumbbell, and we'll start turning this into a flywheel. Thanks for watching.